Hello, good morning. It is Morning Coffee with Steve, episode 230 for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I have iced coffee in my cafe latte mug today. It's like barely like, wow. I mean, with the chocolate milk I added in there, it's a bit kind of like less than half full today. Ran out of iced coffee, so I have an order of a Starbucks peppermint mocha on its way. So, yay! It might come actually during the episode. Who knows? I just before I started hit record this morning, I saw that the 2024 Spotify Wrapped came out, and I was curious because I switched over to Spotify this year, and I was like, okay, what songs are there that I basically played a lot of? And it's mostly just music like this. If you're hearing it in the background, it's just lo-fi, like video game music. I switched over to lo-fi Christmas music a couple of days ago, but yeah, that's all it is. Like it apparently, I'm like, I think it was like Game Chops, I think was the artist that I listened to the most, and apparently I'm like 0.1%, top 0.1% of their listeners. So I just find a playlist and I use it to focus. I don't know if this is if you do this when you work. I like listening to like lo-fi music when I'm working because it helps me kind of focus. It kind of puts something in the background that I can just sort of like, it just kind of almost like tune out, almost kind of like white noise. But you know, there are times where it's like I could really enjoy what's being played right now. I can't listen to music with lyrics while I work because I'm just too distracted by it. So I usually go with instrumental, which generally used to be soundtracks, and now it's kind of like gaming lo-fi. I've been a big fan of lo-fi, but I do have like a curated playlist of all the like songs that I do like a lot and I listen to constantly. But that never comes up in Spotify because I've listened to the other stuff more. And so I'm kind of like always bummed. It's like, oh man, I was really curious, like which of the songs that I listen on my main playlist, does that come up at all? Nope, it's just lo-fi. So like even with Spotify Wrapped, it doesn't really kind of it constitutes what the music I'm listening to. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I in a way, I almost kind of feel like I wish I could keep that separate from my own listening habits. It's not like that I just like I am always on board with it. I just like the music, and I just like, I don't know, I'm back and forth on it. What is your Spotify Wrapped? What do you have that's that surprised you the most this year if you have Spotify Wrapped? So anywho, let us jump into the news for today, and we have some unfortunate news. Following months of speculation, Ubisoft is closing its shooter XDefiant. This is by Andy Robinson over at VGC. Following months of denials that the shooter was in trouble, Ubisoft announced on Tuesday it had made the difficult decision to discontinue development on XDefiant. Despite an encouraging start, the team's passionate work and a committed fan base, we've not been able to attract and retain enough players in the long run to compete at the level we aim for in the very demanding free-to-play first-person shooter market, wrote Chief Studios Officer Marie-Sophie de Walbert. I hope I pronounced it correctly. As a result, the game is too far away from reaching the results required to enable further significant investment, and we are announcing that we will be sunsetting it. From today, new downloads, player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available for XDefiant. Walbert said the game Season 3 will still launch and servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. Almost half of the XDefiant team worldwide will transition to other roles within Ubisoft, the exec claimed, but San Francisco and Osaka production studios will close and its Sydney production site will ramp down, with 143 people departing in San Francisco and 134 people likely to depart in Osaka and Sydney. XDefiant was released in May for PC. Let me try that again. XDefiant was released in May for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. VGC's review of the game called it a confidence shooter that's far more than a Call of Duty knockoff. The game's first season of live content launched in July, and its second arrived in September, when plans for 2 other seasons of content were outlined. On the same day that XDefiant's second season launched, Ubisoft announced it was delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows to next year and said it had initiated a plan to improve Star Wars Outlaws' fortunes, following a disappointing launch. The French publisher has lost more than half its market value this year, and it was recently claimed that its founders are considering taking the company private with Tencent, which already owns about 10% of the company. Tuesday's statement continued, developing games as a service experiences remains a pillar of our strategy, and we've achieved significant successes like Rainbow Six, The Crew, and For Honor, among others. It's a highly competitive market. We can apply the lessons learned with XDefiant to our future live titles. I think it's good to be able to at least mention about all the other stuff that's been happening with Ubisoft, because, you know, as a recap, we've had some pretty rough times over this past year with Ubisoft. For every Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, we got an XDefiant. For every Skull and Bones, we've got... No, for every Star Wars Outlaws, we got a Skull and Bones. That's it. It's just disappointing. I mean, it was inevitable. Like, XDefiant did not garner any real praise or success. I don't think I knew anyone who actually played the game. I personally didn't, but I'd heard from like I remember at the beginning there was some interesting accessibility in there, but not enough to be able to be worthwhile to play, at least from what I'd heard. But it kind of goes to show that right now, again, it's a harsh reminder that the video game industry is in a rough spot. I'm gonna pull up a Blue Sky post that I just read this morning, and it kind of puts everything in perspective. Still, this is by Raj Patel. He says 2024 currently has more known games industry layoffs than 2023 plus 2022 combined. 2024 is roughly 600 layoffs away from doubling 2023. There are still plenty of business days left in the month. I can't emphasize enough how extreme these last few years have been so far. And he has a bunch of different charts here of the different layoffs. Right now, total known headcount of layoffs is 33,988. Total announcements is 383. When you take a look at the known games industry layoff headcount, in 2020, just to kind of in perspective, 2021, it was 567 layoffs. 2022, that jumped to 7,949. In 2023, 8,706. 2024, 16,766. Majority of that is coming from Microsoft at 4,758. Next is Unity with 3,115. EA 2,043. Perfect World 2,000. Sony 1,767. Tencent 1,753. And then the list goes on. And then he's also got another list here, basically breaking down for per month. Obviously, this year January was probably the most. Most amount of layoffs by far. It had 6,345 layoffs in January. The next one down was February of this year of 3,269. And then the next one down from that is June of 2022 with 2,692. So again, it's just a very a harsh reminder that the games industry is still in trouble. We still need to be able to pick up the pieces and figure out how to be able to make this not only great for workers to be able to still be able to feel confident and secure in their jobs, but also be sustainable for game studios to be sustainable. I mean, there was a story that I was going to bring up, but I didn't really feel like again, I don't like talking about or using previous CEOs talking about the current state of the industry. I don't mind them. Yeah, it's fine, but it's just, I feel like that we kind of rely on them too much because they think that they have the best expertise. And not to say that they don't, but I feel like if you're not in it, it's kind of hard to be able to for you to be able to comment about it unless it's something that, I don't know. Anyway, Sean Layton, former CEO of PlayStation, nothing wrong with the guy, obviously. Like I definitely respect him, but he said that essentially that studios are going to need to be able to get smaller because they're not, or make smaller games because the games industry is not sustainable. Which reason why I've been bringing that up again, it just was a non kind of quote. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if basically making smaller games is or shorter games is the answer. I just think that we need to find a way to be able to make let workers feel secure in their jobs, but then also I think it kind of all comes down to executives. They made a lot of gambles over the pandemic, and we're seeing the ramifications of those gambles not paying off. And who suffers? It's the people who work for them. And the worst that they get is, they get they lose a zero in their end of year checkbook. And I hate that. I really do. I really do hate that basically the industry that I've become, like, I've grown to know and love. Like, this is my second career. Like, this is like working in the video game industry is again that kind of second dream job that I didn't think that I was going to have. My first one being in radio, and it still is just astounding to me that this industry is just being treated extremely poorly, and the people who suffer the most are the people. And anyway, I wish all those who were affected by working at XDefiant luck in their future, in whatever the future they have. I'm not, like, again, it's like it was inevitable. I knew, like, I'm not sort of being sad about XDefiant. XDefiant was what, like, in all intents and purposes, it was not a good game, and it just did not garner enough attention from the player base to even be worth to kind of bring up, especially when you have an already saturated market with Call of Duty and with Fortnite, and it's just it just was too, like, it was too small in the competitive space, in a largely competitive space. So there's no love lost for XDefiant itself, but I do feel and empathize for the people who have been affected, who basically put their blood, sweat, and tears into this game to be able to make it as best as they could. And unfortunately, this is the result, where now almost 300 people are losing their jobs, and studios are being shut down. So again, it kind of goes into the category of this year of what the fuck, Ubisoft. So I don't know what's gonna go on. What's the future of Ubisoft right now? But I don't know if they can take any more news like this at any given point. They need a win, and soon. So, anywho, sorry to those who were affected by the layoffs. I wish you well. Next story. PlayStation says AI can revolutionize gaming, but it won't replace the human touch. That is by Tom Ivan over at VGC. In an interview with the BBC, Sony Interactive Entertainment co-CEO Herman Hulst has discussed the impact that artificial intelligence is having on the gaming industry. In an interview with the BBC, he said AI has the potential to revolutionize gaming, but that human input will remain crucial to the development process. I suspect there will be a dual demand in gaming, one for AI-driven innovative experiences and another for handcrafted, thoughtful content, Hulst said. Striking the right balance between leveraging AI and preserving the human touch will be crucial. Almost 2/3 of game development studios are using artificial intelligence in their workflows, according to a survey carried out earlier this year by market research from CIST on behalf of game engine maker Unity. 62% of the studios we surveyed said they used AI in their workflows, mainly to prototype quickly and for concepting, asset creation, and world building, Unity said. According to Unity data, the average time to launch for games increased from 218 days in 2022 to 304 days in 2023. While learning to use new tech that can help speed up production comes with challenges. 71% of the studios surveyed that were using AI said doing so had improved their delivery and operations. Sorry, that's my Starbucks. There we go. Perfect. 38% of studios surveyed said they were reluctant to start using AI. 43% of this group said they had an interest in using AI but didn't have the time, while 24% said they didn't think they had the technical skills to do so. By the way, so the reason why Herman Hulst was talking to the BBC was because of the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. I don't disagree with this. I find it interesting that Herman Hulst is sort of seeming like it's kind of a half and half situation, where there's going to be more games that are going to be driven by AI and there's going to be ones that are going to be human made. So I'm kind of curious as to why it's not really a hybrid instead of a one or the other situation. Because I think, again, I've talked about this before, but AI, I'm not a fan of generative AI, but I am a fan of using AI for efficiency and as a tool. I like what's being said here. Is that 62% of the studios we surveyed said that using AI, they used AI in their workflows, mainly to prototype quickly and for concepting, asset creation, and world building. That can save a lot of time. When you can just get something like basically just cranked out by AI real quickly to kind of get you the idea of what, like kind of flesh out the idea of what you want, and then taking that and molding it and basically, okay, now I know what I like, what I don't like, and I'm gonna make it myself. I think it's like it basic AI can basically speed up and make processes that would take a long time much more efficient, and it could lessen the amount of days that development days that it takes to be able to create a game, and that in turn also saves on budget, because then you're not having to pay for those extra days. Because when it was mentioned here that this right here, where the average time to launch for games increased from 218 days in 2022 to 304 days, that like 80 some odd day gap, that's, you gotta remember, that's 80 days to be able to pay your employees, pay for services like servers and stuff like that, pay for any subscriptions that are like any just ongoing daily expenses, including if they have a location, if they have a headquarters somewhere, they're like, and then any other sort of regular studio day-to-day costs. That's 80 days that they have to be, like, that's 3 months that they have to basically budget for. And oftentimes whenever there's studios that are like, if they're a small studio, sometimes that 80 days can make a difference. That 3 months can make a difference. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I literally had this. I forgot that my Starbucks or my Uber Eats was like, oh yeah, you got to meet him at the door, not just leave it at the door. So I have my Starbucks. It's a peppermint mocha. It's been a while since I've had like a hot coffee, basically, but it's peppermint mocha just hits the spot. All right, so what was I saying? All right, so yeah, that 80 days, that 3 months can not necessarily make or break a smaller studio, but it does extend the budget a lot, and that's something that's a budget that is always in flux. It's always like, you try to be able to set like a certain budget. Okay, we have X amount of years to be able to produce this game. We have X amount of dollars to be able to use. We got to be efficient as best we can. And when you're trying, like, it's not about necessarily rushing a game either. It's not about trying to be able to lessen the amount of days, the average amount of days it takes to make a game, so that basically they can make a crappy game. That is not the case that I'm making here. With AI, when you can be able to be more efficient with like the tools that are available, and eliminate some of the extra, not necessarily busy work, but just sort of the extra work that takes a long time to do. And if AI can be able to help with that could mean the difference. That 80 days could basically be lessened again, and that could make the difference between a game that's on budget and on time versus a game that's over budget and long delayed. Because right now, the only studios going to be able to do that are like AAA studios, because they have a little bit of the cash flow in order to be able to make that work. It's not, it's obviously not ideal. Then obviously AAAs want to be able to save as much money as possible, and unfortunately, they are trying to be able to do that by laying off people, because employee salaries are probably the most expensive out of all of it. I think out of all of their ongoing expenses is the amount of money it costs to be able to lay off people. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse to be like, okay, that's the reason why that there's so many layoffs. It should never be the first choice, is to eliminate that. It should, like, there are many other different scenarios that could warrant ideas for laying off, or not, that you can be able to to lessen costs that don't include layoffs. But again, I think that going back to that, I think AI, I feel like it can help, and I do know, and I understand that there's a lot of trepidation about it in the industry right now. I just think that and I know that there's a lot of negative attention around it. I just want people to sort of understand that if it can help make a studio more efficient, but it'll still allow the people to make a great game. It's not about, like, as long as it's done in a way that obviously is ethically, like, hey, yeah, okay, so asset generation, or like there are definitely going to be some shifts in regards to certain positions in the industry. Like, that's what happens in every industry. That's not exclusive to gaming. There's going to be some positions, some jobs that essentially are not going to be as needed as much as they used to. And it's not to say that those people deserve to be laid off. They shouldn't. And I hope that they can be able to at least find a different way to be able to expand their skills, so they can still be be hireable. But that, I mean, with new technology, it always comes. It always happens from the beginning of invention. There's always going to be something that is always going to say, oh, AI is going to take X is going to take our jobs. It's going to take some jobs, yes. But it's taking jobs that basically could make things more efficient. I'm not for capitalism in any way, in any way, shape, or form, other than if it can benefit the working class. However, when you are in a capitalist society, as much as I would love to be able to take down the systems that rule that society, I think that if you want to work in this industry, you have to be as flexible as you possibly can. I had to be flexible in what I do, because I couldn't just focus in on just blind accessibility when it comes to reviews, or just coming to as consultants. I developed and learned an expertise of general accessibility knowledge, so that I can go to a studio and be like, just here's a general overall accessibility assessment. That's not just my lived-in experience of being blind. And I think some consultants are starting to see that, but I think that, and you always have to start with that in your journey, because having your lived-in experience is that expertise that you that is needed in the space. But what is also needed is if you can't learn and develop your skills beyond that, you're basically you're kind of opening yourself up to potentially not getting any work, because there's gonna be more and more people are going to be getting into this, more and more people are going to be consulting. And if they it's not to say that every person has the same, every disability is the same, and because there's always a spectrum and all that, but you need to evolve. You can't just if you are working in an industry that you like your job and it's great, but if you're not growing, if you're not learning, if you're not expanding your skills, you're basically setting yourself up that within you're just down the road, you may not see it at this point, but down the road you can basically see yourself out of a job. So, and I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm not saying that to basically it's anyone's fault in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that you have to evolve, and AI is here to stay. There's no putting that genie back in that bottle. There's no it's here. It's growing. It's growing exponentially. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be a part of the industry. We just have to figure out a way to be able to make sure that there is still that, as Herman Hulst says in this article, they need to AI can revolutionize gaming, but it won't replace the human touch. As long as AI is not replacing the human touch, that's where we need to be in the industry. People will see AI as a shortcut, and there always will be people that will see it as that, and there'll be executives that are going to be failures of AI driven games that are going to be like that. I could definitely foresee as being failures, but those who can be able to adopt and adapt AI to a degree that they can be able to use it as a tool, but it's still the humans that are it's still people that are working on these games and creating these games. I think that it has that has a much that is what is going to make the industry sustainable. So anyway, that's just my opinion on it. And then lastly, last story I got here. I've got a trailer up because it just, remember I talked about yesterday about the PlayStation, the 30th anniversary, and they talked about My First GT, the Gran Turismo, a game that's coming out. Well, the trailer is out, and I can actually I haven't watched it yet, so we're gonna watch it right now. I'm gonna pause the music, and we're gonna enjoy this and see what My First Gran Turismo trailer is gonna be. It's for PS5 and it looks like PS4 as well. Here we go. Polyphonic Digital. Oh, it's basically, so it's just showing the menus or the opening menus of the game. Oh, look at that! Like, that car looks dope. Oh my gosh, this takes me back. Oh wow, Challenger RT7. Oh wow. It looks basically kind of like a Gran Turismo 7, I guess. Which maybe is a smaller. Yeah, it basically looks like Gran Turismo 7. Yeah, it literally looks like Gran Turismo 7, but is this like a DLC for it, or is this like a smaller version of the game? All right, I'll turn that down. I don't know if that's going to be copyright strike. I don't think so. But the soundtrack, I can't wait for that soundtrack. See what's on there other than just when the Saints go marching in. I love that. I wonder if they did that for specific copyright purposes. So this looks like just like it has the old original cars, but just done in the engine of Gran Turismo 7. Which I'm okay for that, honestly. If it has like the original cars and it's just in the newer version of GT, let's go. Yeah, it looks like it's just a smaller version of Gran Turismo. My first Gran Turismo real driving simulator. PlayStation. I love that. Oh, that's cool. Let's see. What is this? Okay, so there is a website for it. So let's take a look at the website. All right. 7 to 77 from children to adults. Experience My First Gran Turismo for free. Available to download starting on December 6th, 2024. That's literally Friday. The Gran Turismo series first hit the scene in 1997, proudly earning the label the Real Driving Simulator. Since then, it has captured the hearts of driving enthusiasts and gamers around the globe. My First Gran Turismo is intended for those who have yet to experience Gran Turismo. Welcome to the world of Gran Turismo. And you basically can drive all the cars. You can learn about the cars. You can collect them. I just want to see, is there anything listed about the cars? No, okay. Wow. So it looks like, yeah, it's just a smaller... license center. My first time driving? No problem. Have fun while also learning some driving tricks. So you have like a license, drive wherever the music takes you. Music Rally is a fun-filled mini game where the goal is simple. Drive as far as you can before the song ends. No need to worry about lap times or finishing positions. Just let the rhythm guide you. Oh, that's kind of neat. I didn't even know that was what that was. That's cool. Go for the win in your favorite car. Compete in 3 different races, all with their own individual theme. Choose your difficulty level and dive into action. There's time trials. There's practice runs. There's my achievements, so you can check your progress. from My First Gran Turismo to Gran Turismo 7. Complete My First Gran Turismo and transfer all 18 collected cars into Gran Turismo 7. Then get ready for an exciting new adventure in the world of Gran Turismo 7. That's cool. The fact that you could basically... Oh, and it's literally a demo. It's a free trial version of Gran Turismo 7. I like that a lot. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So the fact that it literally is hey, if you collect all these cars, collect all 18 cars, you can transfer them into Gran Turismo 7 when you do, if you decide that you want to be able to play Gran Turismo 7. I love that. I think that that's cool. And it's just a great way to be able to celebrate the 30th anniversary of PlayStation, because they did announce that as part of it. And I love this. That takes me back. All right. Well, cool. I may have to jump into that. Although I am playing some Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, which I can say I am doing that for review. The review will come out tomorrow, just as a heads up. I think I can basically say it's not coming out like around the time that the Morning Coffee with Steve episode airs. I think it's airing later in the day. I can't remember the exact timing right now, but I think it is later in the day. Basically, whenever the embargo comes up for Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, that's when I'm going to shoot for having my my accessibility review out. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out tomorrow. And then, I think it's pretty much any other sort of projects are going to be coming up. Dungeons and Disabled is going to be put on hold for a little bit, the Linville Manor, because I think getting into December, now it starts with holidays and stuff like that. I think I'm going to pick away at it and still be able to try to get to work, but then probably release it in January and maybe kind of give it a little bit more sort of breathing room instead of just trying to compete with the holidays, as it were. So because it's a pretty big edit, and I have to finish a lot of that. So I mean, but progress is happening. It's just happening slowly, because when it's just myself, it's a lot of work. But yeah, again, stay tuned for my Indiana Jones review coming out tomorrow. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening and or watching, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.